Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning in. I'm John Peters, and this morning I took a road trip up to the Real Antique Wood Mill in Irvington, New Jersey to meet with my friend Anthony and take a close look at the Supermax 36-inch wire wheel. It's a very specific machine that does a very specific task. We'll run a few boards through. It's a very dirty job. We'll put a little bit of finish on the board so you can get a good idea of the texture that the machine puts on the boards. And while I'm there, I'll ask Anthony about the barn in Mendham. That project did get put on hold for a little while, but it is starting up again soon, maybe as early as next week, so we'll find out what's going on there.
So we got our Supermax wire brush machine, 36-inch. We have our nylon bristle brush in here. It has a little bit of an abrasive in it, so it gives it a nice soft texture once it passes through. We also have the steel bristle brush, which gives the material just an extreme texture. For the application that we're doing today, we're not going to be, not using that one, but this here gives it an exceptional finish. Nice soft texture, and just about ready for finish once it passes through the backside. So we got our conveyor, our feed conveyor. We adjust the feed to match the thickness of the stock that we'll be passing through, and then the wire brush rotates against the material as it feeds through, and then once it comes out the backside, it's ready to go. The only downfall, in my personal opinion, with this machine, the dust collection, whether or not we have one on there, it is unbelievably dusty, so we'll be wearing our full respirator when we run this machine here. Ideally, if I had my changes to make, this whole dust collection portion would be just one big manifold. I mean, we've had it on a 500 CFM dust collector, and it still spits out a lot of dust. So it's definitely a dirty one. That's why we put it outside. It's just a 5-horse 220 single phase. It's powerful enough. They do have larger motors. This is actually the second motor that we've put on here, and I've changed the actual pulley size a little bit just to get a little bit more drum speed. So the nice part about it, a little bit higher speed, a little bit higher RPM for the actual wire brush. We can adjust the feed speed a little bit. So if we want to just lightly take a little bit off the top, really speed it up and pass it through, or if we really want the wire brush to work a little bit overtime, we'll slow that feed down, and it really makes a huge difference in the final product.
So this is a nylon brush that you have in here now.
Correct.
Do you have different coarse wires?
Yeah, the other wire brush is actually right on the back side if you want to take a shot of that. It's kind of seen its day, but it is very gnarly, very scary. Just unbelievably coarse wire brush. So even on some white oak, it gives unbelievable texture, but it just doesn't last long. It definitely takes a beating.
Will you run the material through this coarse wire, and then sometimes run it through the nylon wire?
Yeah, there has been times that the clients have wanted that look, the real deep texture, but when it's done to soften it a little bit, it works beautifully. They do have some other machines, I believe, that has the coarse wire brush first and then the nylon, so you can just do it all in one pass, but we're not to that point just yet.
So you got a double drum then?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we going to run through here today?
We actually have some old cherry threshing floorboards that were pulled from a stack. The one side is real dry rotted, pretty gnarly. Otherwise, you know, I mean, for wall cladding or some, you know, small, real cool piece of furniture, I'd like to do maybe like a whiskey cabinet or something out of it. I think would be a pretty cool project. We're going to run that through, let the wire brush do the work, clean it up, and it's going to have just some unbelievable texture. See, the back side is pretty clean. The other side is way dry rotted, a little soft. Some people would probably throw it out. But personally, for myself, I like to work, the gnarlier the better. I like to work with this type of stuff. It poses a nice challenge, so that's we'll be running them through shortly. With the steel brush on there, it makes it's just as quiet running, but when you hit the material, you know that it's chewing on it.
So now we're back in the finishing room at Real Antique Wood, and Anthony's going to apply some finish to the cherry that just went through the wire wheel. And what are we using?
Going to be using Osmo Poly X. This is the satin version. Gives a nice beautiful finish. You'll see instantly it's going to richen the color, real deep, almost burnt orange.
And that's been your commercial finish now for about a year.
Yeah.
Why do you like this?
Close to a year. My big thing is the ease of application, the ease of touching up the product. We used to do the water-based finishes for all the restaurant tops and everything else. So we had multi-step process, 2 coats of sealer, 3 coats or 4 coats of water-based, needing to sand it down real light, 220 grit in between each coat. So there was an immense amount of time and just man hours going into one single tabletop. And then if it got a scratch, you'd have to abrade the whole surface and refinish the whole table. With this, with the Osmo, it's not the case. It's a huge time saver.
So it's more of a penetrating, is it more of a penetrating oil so you don't get that scratch?
Yeah, you don't get the scratch, and it gives you a little bit of protection with the wax on top of the surface. It's a much more natural looking finish as opposed to the water base. With the water base, you get almost like a plasticky looking film. With this is not the case. I mean, you can even take a look at the walnut shelves that we have in the back there once we get a second. You don't get that high build. It's much more natural, much more fine finish.
So how do you apply it?
So for this, we'll just do a quick little sample. We'll just rag it on by hand. You can roll it, which is like the recommended application. I've even brushed this. They do have the extra thin as well, which is beautiful to brush in. So we have all these insect tracks and everything else. So we'll just dab the rag. It's got a nice smell. It's not pungent by any means. So as you can see here, the extra thin would be ideal, just where we have all these insect tracks and everything else. But we'll be able to work it down in those.
With it, you could even work it down with a throwaway brush.
Exactly.
And then you're going to wipe off the film afterwards.
Yep, we'll wipe off all the excess.
That's a really nice deep finish.
Beautiful color.
Very natural too.
Yes, absolutely. And the nice part, especially with their satin, it's not a very glossy satin. We've had some other products that you would swear it's either semi-gloss or gloss when they claim that it's satin.
After you apply this, is this the only coat?
Yeah, for right now, they recommend recoating within 8 hours or so. So we'll apply this, wipe it back, all the excess, and let it dry.
On a typical tabletop for a restaurant, how many coats would you apply?
Be doing 3 coats for a restaurant top.
3 coats always seems to be the magic number.
Yeah. The nice part with this though, we don't have to sand it down. There's no abrading the surface in between, and you don't have to tack rag it. It's just a huge savings of time. Again, going into the efficiency of what we do here.
Before I leave, can you give me a quick update on the Mendham barn?
So the Mendham barn, we are actually going to be delivering our skid steer tomorrow, and then hopefully this coming week we'll get our larger our telehandler on site, and things start to happen, and they're going to happen quick.
So a little bit of a delay?
A little bit of a delay. We had to get the roof taken care of. It did have asbestos shingle on there, so that was taken care of and disposed of the way that asbestos is supposed to be. And now that that's done, we're able to go in and really start our process and do what we do best.
So maybe a week from now, I'll meet you at the job there.
I would say definitely probably about a week from now.
That'll be great. All right, thanks again,
Awesome.
Anthony.
You got it. Good seeing you.
Well, that was a lot of fun for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button, the like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, share, tell a friend, all that good stuff. And definitely click over here for the free plans for the mid-century modern cabinet. That's a very in-depth plan. It's a little bit more of a complex project, but with the plans, you can definitely break it down and get it done if modern is your thing. As far as the Osmo is not a sponsor of the show. I am trying to get them to sponsor the Barn series, so I want to be completely honest about that. But Anthony has been using this product for almost a year now. He's had nothing but good things to say about it, so if it's good enough for Anthony, it's probably good enough for me. I did bring some cherry boards back from the mill, and I will be building some projects and trying out the finish. Another thing that I'm doing is I've started making tool paintings again. So if you have any interest in purchasing reproductions or signed prints of those tool paintings, definitely click on the link in the description. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.